How's it going, everyone? It's GadgetsBoy. Hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. And this is the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra review. Let's get on with it. The Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra is Samsung's latest flagship device that is all singing and dancing with spec sheet that represents the trajectory in which smartphones are now going. Whether it's in the display, camera capabilities, or just gaming, it's what we expect to be seen on smartphones going forward. I've been using it for about a month now, and whilst sometimes it doesn't usually take me this long to decide on how good a smartphone iteration is, this one took me a while. When it was released, it had camera issues, especially with focusing, so I waited for an update before deciding it's time. Let's start with the design. So the S20 Ultra is neither an ugly or a good-looking device. In fact, it comes in a dull color of grey, or you can go for a black version as well, which aren't exciting in all honesty. But it's still a solid device though in terms of build quality. It has a nice heft to it, which some may not like it, but when I use it at night time, for example, I'm conscious of dropping it on my face as a nod off, even knocked on the back to see how hollow it sounds as well. Anyway, the main thing you will notice is when you turn it around, you notice that big camera array on the back, which also protrudes as well. But if you manage to get a case for it from Samsung or wherever else, that problem is just solved with that. As it's not exactly a sexy looking device like the Oppo Find X2 Pro, for example, you'd be happy covering it up anyway. Perhaps you can spice it up with a colourful case if that's something you really want. Other than that, the back curves into the metal frame, and I'm super happy with the front display. It's that in the sense that it's not curved for no reason. I actually really hate that. On the front, Samsung also opted for an Infinity O display. The S20 Ultra is also IP68 water and dust resistant certified, and it's the first in the S line with no headphone jack as well. So we can safely say that's a goodbye to all Samsung device with headphone jacks in the future. In general, the S20 Ultra has a huge, and even for my biggish hands, it's got a big, huge display, and it's tough to reach the top of the device one-handed or even corner to corner. Of course, there are settings that you can change in the device itself to make it easier. For example, you can swipe down from the middle of the display to get the notification area or the settings bar right at the top. Okay, let's get into the display. The S20 Ultra's display is one of the best on the market or in the market. It's great in bright light or direct sunlight conditions, for example, although that's not something that you can really test right now in the UK. But every now and then we've had a bit of sunshine. It looks really good. On paper, it has one of, if not the best display out there, with a big 6.9-inch AMOLED display. It's Quad HD plus resolution as well, so that's 1440 by 3200. For those mobile gamers out there, even those that scroll fast to notice any screen fluidity, you have to check out that 120 Hz refresh at 1080p, or you can step it down to 60 Hz at 1440p, and it's also HDR10 plus certified. And all that means for you is when gaming, you get no latency issues when playing fast-paced games. The only issues are A, you have to decide whether you prefer 1080p or 1440p, as that would determine which refresh rate you get. B, you have to decide if you're willing to have no battery left come afternoon or early afternoon using that 120 Hz refresh rate. Personally, the difference between 60 Hz and 120 Hz wasn't massively effective for me to want it to be on 120 Hz all the time. And even then, I still don't have any resolution cranked up to the highest. I still don't have my resolution cranked up to the highest that the S20 Ultra can actually offer. Overall, it's always a pleasure to look at the S20 Ultra's display. You can use the blue light mode as well, change it if you want from vivid or natural. Although if you're editing photos like me, it's best to stick to that natural mode because you get much more accurate colors. HDR10 Plus is also brilliant if you can find compatible movies or TV series on Netflix, for example. But a little Googling will show you a list of HDR10 Plus movies that you can watch to actually take advantage of that with Dolby Sounds as well. The size of it makes it one of the best out there for watching movies, gaming, with all that near bezel-less display. While I'm here, the audio is also very good. I'm happy with how loud it sounds, even when maybe when listening to music, playing games, watching movies, and even making calls and using it in loudspeaker mode. On to my favorite thing about smartphones nowadays, the camera. And where do I even begin? Okay, just in case you haven't done any research at all or seen any of the S20 Ultra adverts on TV, it's packing a lot when it comes to its camera. You get triple rear camera with 108 megapixel main camera, but it's actually 12 megapixel that gets pixel bin in. So to make up for that 108 megapixel. Some science goes on, some processing goes on behind the scene. You get 0.8 micron pixel size, f1.8 aperture, and optical image stabilization with that main camera. Next, you have a 48 megapixel telephoto lens with 0.8 micro size as well, micron size, f3.5 aperture, OIS that's capable of doing 10 times hybrid optical zoom, and a whopping and useless 100 times space zoom as well. And even that is also pixel binning as well. So it's not, realistically, it's not real 48 megapixel. And finally, you have a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens with 1.4 micron size of lens. You got f2.2 aperture, and on the front is a 40 megapixel selfie camera. Again, technically 6.5 megapixel with binning. So you have 0.7 micron and f2.2 aperture. For videos, the main camera can shoot up to 8K, so 7680 by 4320 videos. You can do 4K up to 60 frames per second, but you lose track in autofocus and video effects. The front camera can shoot 4K videos at 60 frames per second, which is great for all you content creators out there. Video stabilization is also available depending on which resolution you're shooting in, and HDR is present too. Samsung also uses super steady mode to reduce shakiness in your shaky videos with your shaky hands, but it restricts you to what resolution you can shoot at, and using it in low light is awful. So you're better off just switching it off unless you absolutely need it. One thing I wasn't sure about Samsung's is Samsung UI, because you have to kind of dig for things to pick modes. For example, you can get 8K. To get 8K, you can select it at the top where the camera settings is, or you can go into the actual camera settings and then pick it from there. Shooting in 8K allows you to take high resolution screenshots as well. So you get 32 megapixel photos from those videos. So again, it just kills time instead of having to worry about taking photos and shooting videos at the same time. But what you get in return is large files, but luckily you can add a micro SD card to the S20 Ultra. There's also a new function there called single take, which is a new feature. The idea of it's amazing, but the only problem is most of the time it kind of glitches out or takes too long to process the shots. Then at this point, you might as well just shoot it individually, manually, the way you want. The idea of single take is that the S20 Ultra uses all its lenses in one go to create photos and videos, for example. If you use the front-facing camera, it would do a normal video, a fast-forward one, a loop version on the one single file. So when you go in your gallery, it's not going to have like loads of different files there for you. You click one and then you can expand it to select what you want. If you flip the phone around, you can do the same and get a picture, a normal video, black and white photo, a sped-up video, ultra-wide angle view shot, and a looped video as well. So you can do whatever you want with those things. It's a cool idea if you don't want to reshoot those things individually, so you can do it all in one go, and then you got options to play with. So how well did the S20 Ultra perform? Let's first look at zooming. While it's great to be able to zoom into your subject from a distance when you just can't physically get closer, Samsung's space zoom is only good up to 10 times for me. Anything after that, you might as well not bother at all. Whether you're using a handheld or using a tripod, the quality at 100 times is just point blank pointless, plain pointless. I don't even know why Samsung has put so much effort into having it. If you know that reason, feel free to drop them in the comments. Standard daytime shots. The S20 Ultra doesn't struggle at all in daytime. It captures the colors well. Some may say it's oversaturated at times, but it's just a matter of preferences and what you like. The scene detection there can also help refine your images as well, just a tad bit, than just leaving the lenses and software to do all the hard work. At times though, highlights can be overblown on the main camera, but using an ultra-wide angle lens can sometimes produce better results. And dynamic range is also not as good as my iPhone 11 Pro or the Google Pixel in my opinion, but overall, customers looking to buy the S20 Ultra won't be disappointed. Where it does get a bit worrisome for me is for a £1,000 phone, it struggles with focusing. Trying to get close-up shots, you start to notice the shallow depth of field is too much. It gets all soft. You have to switch to your zoom lens to get a good result or better results. The phone doesn't know how to do this automatically yet. And I also notice a lot of spherical aberration with close-up subjects. So that can be very annoying as well, especially when pointing to like text, for example, you notice it even more. In low light, the S20 Ultra does very well as well. And that's something that's very important as well, as most people now take photos in low light. The S20 Ultra gives a mixed bag of results in low light, but switch on night mode or either manually or using that scene detection, you get constantly good results and they look very natural compared to the competitor on the market. The highlights looks great, although you might get some softness in the images. Night mode also top out at 10 times zoom, so you have to get creative with what you want to do and you want to achieve. With the processing that comes with the dedicated night mode though, you get slow shutter reaction, so sometimes play with the normal mode and hopefully you get a good result. But all in all, it's very good in low light. For selfies, the S20 Ultra's camera does really good at keeping the edge detection in check when using live focus mode. So that's portrait mode for Samsung devices. And when in standard mode, it does well too. No complaints there at all. The colors are natural, the highlights are great, contrast, whites, blacks look great as well. There's not a lot of editing needed afterwards. And it's something that I can actually share as a photo on my Instagram page, for example, and be proud of it. In terms of video, after trying to use the S20 Ultra's camera for filming, I spotted a few things that could be better. White balance, especially in low light situations, is awful. 8K is fine, but then you think, how do I actually watch this? I don't have an 8K TV at home to watch it. Yes, you can argue that it preserves more details when you shoot at higher resolution, but not necessary for something that I'm going to quickly share on my Instagram stories, for example. That's useless. And finally, that focus hunting is still a big issue for me. And even if you had the most steady hands and using a stabilizer, it won't save you at all there. Super steady mode is great, but you lose image quality and you don't get to take full advantage of those big sensors there. On to the next bit, the processor and the battery life. The S20 Ultra in the UK comes with an Exynos processor, so you get Exynos 990 in there. And say in the US, they get the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 processor, which in my opinion is actually better in terms of power consumption. The thing is, I won't bore you with benchmark results. The processor has zero issues running multiple applications or making sure your device runs very smoothly. What I can't vouch for is how long it will keep that up for. So 12 months down the line, is it still going to be performing just as good? From experience, no, but we shall see. Power consumption, like as I said earlier, is not the best at all. I'll talk more about that just in a sec. You get 12 gig of RAM to support the processor. So again, ensuring a speedy experience, loading applications from the background that you haven't loaded up in a while. So if you left Call of Duty running in the background, for example, and you reloaded it, it's fine. The internal storage, as it's UFS 3.0, meaning reading and writing to storage, is pretty quick. You notice this when opening your gallery, for example. Images and videos saved to your internal storage will load really quickly, almost faster than you can blink in most cases. Back to that battery consumption and processor. At the start of the tests, cranking everything up really high up, like 120 hertz all day, using loads of like power intensive applications to see how it copes. It really struggles. You get really small numbers in terms of screen time, which is quite ridiculous. But turning that 120 hertz off and changing your power mode, stepping it down, making some lifestyle changes like not having your always on display, reducing screen resolution, putting on dark mode, etc. The S20 Ultra then lasts just about a day. Thankfully, its savior is having a 25 watt USB-C PD charger that gets you from 0 to 100% in just over an hour. So although there's a big 5,000 milliamp hour battery in there, it still struggles, but you can quickly top it up whenever you need. One thing I do use a lot though is that 15 watt Qi wireless charging capability. So when I'm at home or in the office, I just leave it on the side charging, pick it up, put it back on, and so on. In conclusion though, my verdict is that the S20 Ultra is no doubt a flagship device to consider for your next purchase, but it fails to inspire me in terms of design. If you look at it, it's very boring. The camera could be so much better if you were to go by the specs on paper alone, but it falls short in some basic areas like focusing. That shouldn't be an issue in this day and age at all. It has a horrible battery life for me, and I don't know what Samsung are thinking here. I think they should just scrap the Exynos processor in general and let the whole world have the same experience all round. But I could be naive in thinking of the reasons why. Again, do let me know in the comments below. I struggle to recommend it to anyone at this stage who's trying to spend over £1,000 on a phone. Yeah, the Samsung name, the brand name carries weight when it comes to purchasing, just like Apple, but doesn't justify that cost versus experience. There are alternatives on the market now that are really good. The Oppo Find X2 Pro, for example, is really good. Google services are on the P40 Pro, but the camera's really great and you can still live with the device with all your basic applications. The iPhone 11 Pro of last year is still delivering consistent and great results as well, especially when it comes to video. So again, there are options available on both Android, iOS platform and other platforms with Huawei Mobile Services platform. I even prefer some of the results on my that my Galaxy Note 10 Plus is still producing. So again, I'm really not sure or feel confident about recommending the S20 Ultra. Do check out the S20 Plus though, and the standard S20 as well. I think those might be the ones that people are likely more likely to go for. So that's it for the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any more questions, let me know as well. All relevant information will be in the description area. And as usual, if this is your first time on the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification as well. So if you're one of the first people to know every time there's a video up on this channel. Thank you for watching. I'm going to finish my tea and I shall see you guys in the next one.